YouTube's golden era is officially dead. Well, I mean, it's more like the golden era of YouTubers is officially dead. I'm sure all of you are aware by now that MatPat is retiring from YouTube and is handing his channels over to other people. However, it's not just MatPat, but over the past year, other golden era YouTubers like Tom Scott, Meat Canyon, DayinTDM, Stampy Longhead, Captain Sparkles, Moo, Seth Everman, and PewDiePie have, in some sense, either are retiring from YouTube or are stepping away full time. And it's no coincidence either that all of these massive inspirations have been deciding to clock out. There are obviously personal factors that contribute to each one, like burnout or boredom, and that comes naturally when you've been making content for years on end. Hell, I mean, I've only been working at a factory for about 8-ish months, and every time I clock in, my soul leaves my body and doesn't return until I leave that damn building. Anyway, burnout happens, and there's no changing that. However, if it was just burnout, then most YouTubers would simply take a break, or kind of change up how much they upload. Take Markiplier for example. Back in the first few years of his channel, he used to upload a video twice a day. However, after doing this for some time, he announced that he would be switching over to trying to upload once a day, because he wasn't happy with the content he was producing. And that's what other YouTubers would do to solve this problem as well. They might not have done the exact same thing, or had the exact same scenario, but they did do something to combat their burnout. So then, what's different now? Why is it that over the past year, our favorite creators have decided to leave YouTube and move on to better things? What is this plague that has befallen upon everyone? Well, the answer is actually quite simpler than you might think. We can first find the answer by comparing modern day YouTube to older YouTube. YouTubers obviously earn a living by producing contents for viewers to watch and enjoy. Ads appear on videos, which is what generates revenue for those who don't have merch or membership. I know, you hate ads, I myself hate ads, but for those who don't have the means yet to create other ways of obtaining revenue, they're necessary. Even when you skip them though, they still generate some money for the content creator, albeit not as much as compared to if you watch the whole thing. Now, why am I mentioning this? Well, when we look at modern day YouTube, the majority of the platform is children with short attention spans. That means, through the eyes of YouTube's algorithm and analytics, they're more likely to click on and watch shorter videos, or doom scroll through YouTube shorts. That means more eyes on ads, and more likely that a kid will either ask his or her mom to buy whatever product is in the ad, or, if their parent's card is already on the phone, they'll just straight up purchase whatever it is. Now, when people do that, it generates more money for the content creator. However, they still have to keep their watch time up so the algorithm recommends the video to more people so they can get that money. So, how do they do that? In 2024, the answer is something we're all familiar with, and I think it's better if I showed you instead of describing it.
9/11 paranoia.
Ryan, are you suggesting that 9/11 didn't change everything?
What?
Yeah, those. Shorts like those keep the attention span of those who doom scroll, which gives the content creators more money. Even in a normal video, unless you put in an edit every 2 seconds, then you're not keeping those eyes on the screen. But it didn't always used to be this way. Let's return back to the good old days of 2012 when everybody thought that the world was gonna end. On 2012 YouTube, the algorithm and way creators made money was much different. There were no YouTube shorts, there weren't a lot of fancy edits, there were videos that people watched for the creator. And that's the first piece of the puzzle to solve why the golden era YouTubers are leaving. Back then, you could record yourself having fun, playing a video game, raging with friends, getting jump scared by a spooky creature, and when you were done, you could do some basic editing and trim down the recordings and presto, there was the completed video. It didn't take days on end and a whole team to make what is essentially cinematic levels of content for your audience. It was just you, a game, and the camera. It was a wonderful time. People watched your videos, and not because of the post-production, but because of you and your personality. Obviously, the more editing you have in a video can make it better, but what I'm trying to say is you could be you and not have to cater to anyone or hire anyone to stay relevant. That's how creators like MatPat, Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, Vanoss, and so many more beloved creators came into the spotlight. But what happens when you bring their videos and these creators into 2024? To simplify it as much as possible, they fail. I'm confident enough to claim that if you asked any of them, if they structured their videos now the same way they did back then, they would agree with me and say that they wouldn't be able to make it. Brain dead content is what fills a lot of YouTube, and they would say that they would rather quit than make videos like that. And that's puzzle piece number 2, and arguably the biggest one. These creators made content that they enjoyed, and that they were proud of and could claim as their own. Their main drive wasn't for money, but for their audience to be happy. Communities were closer and more involved, but now that hardly exists with modern YouTubers. Let me go ahead and say that that type of content is not completely dead. It's still possible to make content like I have described and still be relevant on the platform. A prominent example would be Astral Spiff, whose videos are almost always over 30 minutes, has no fancy editing, and is just him and his audience enjoying a game together. However, what I am saying is that it's much harder for this to occur due to YouTube's current formula for acquiring the most money as possible, and also because of the sheer volume of other creators out there. On average, there are over 500 hours of content uploaded every single minute on YouTube, and over 3.7 million videos are published every day. 3.7 million. That number is physically possible for your brain to comprehend. You just can't. Anyway, back to what I was saying. You might be asking me why I'm mentioning how many videos are uploaded per day. What does that have to do with my favorite creators retiring? Well, it's significant because that means most of the newer generation, Gen Alpha, will choose to watch a short of someone playing Garten of Banban while Family Guy and Subway Surfers plays at the bottom half of the screen. They will choose to watch that over watching a full video of someone playing that same game and listen to their commentary as they play it. Golden era YouTubers just don't want to hurt their audience like that. So now it comes to talk about the third and final piece of the puzzle, which is the one that I mentioned at the very beginning of the video. And this final piece is simply due to time. These creators have been producing content for everyone for year after year after year. MatPat has been producing videos for 13 years. He deserves to step back and admire his journey. He put so many smiles on so many people's faces over the years, and like he said in his announcement video, he did change the world just a little bit. Our favorite creators are ready to move on to different things, though that doesn't always mean they completely disappear. Take one of my favorite creators, Markiplier, for example. Technically, I believe he's retired. I can't take credit for what I'm about to say, but I don't remember what Instagram post I saw this from, so I apologize to the person for not being able to credit you. Anyway, the Instagram post was basically talking about how Mark has changed from a gaming YouTuber to a film director slash actor slash producer. And that's 100% true. More of his time is spent nowadays producing massive projects such as In Space of Markiplier or Iron Lung. He may not have retired, but I would say that he has rebranded in a way. By the way, in case you're worried, no, Mark basically laughed at the idea of retiring from YouTube, so rest your weary mind. Now, Jacksepticeye, on the other hand... Anyway, let's summarize everything we've talked about and wrap it up into a nice little bow. The golden era YouTubers are retiring, and it's because the platform isn't what it used to be. Communities are spread apart and not connected anymore. Newer creators are producing brain-dead content for the youth that takes away their audiences. And finally, it's because they've been doing YouTube for so long and they want to move on to the next part of their life. And with that being said, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then let me know in the comments below. I do read everything y'all type, and I love listening to y'all's opinions. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you on the flip side.